Welcome to the Jeremiah Show. What a gift, a voice. It is this incredible instrument that we are all born with, but do we all use it the same way? So just think with me for a moment here about your voice. It is one of your most valuable instruments, isn't it? It's a tool. It's like a vessel, a connection to your soul. Our voices give sound to our thoughts. Our voice communicates our joy, our fears, our beliefs out loud. Our voice moves us through our lives, either gently or forcefully, passionately, sometimes angrily, and it determines success in our relationships every single day. It can express and guarantee love. It will draw people to us, or it can be used to push people away. It can be used to build relationships, and just as quickly, it can destroy relationships. It starts wars, or hearing a simple song can unite all of us. So, what would life be without your voice? The spoken word whispered to a friend? Or what would music be without the sweet notes from an artist's voice? Expressing your feelings or connecting with another. That all happens because of your voice. It's kind of magic. And how you use your voice is your choice. Most times it's in conscious effort, right? But when it's used by a voice artist as a conscious effort to express a thought or a feeling to another person with intent, that voice becomes an entirely new thing, a golden voice. And music or the spoken word can be mesmerizing. It's why I do this show. Voices carry. I first fell in love with the spoken word when I was 11. I was listening to a little AM/FM car radio, and I would tune into Casey Kasem's Radio Countdown, American Top 40. Man, Casey had a voice for storytelling. And our friend of the show, Shadow Stevens, we used to listen to him. Years later, pinch myself that we got to meet him, and he's been on the show a few times. Even Howard Stern and Adam Carolla, I like their voices. When you are alone listening to a great voice, it's as good as reading for me. It takes my imaginations to places that film, music, and books do not. It's its own escape. For me, I think the voice is the highest art form on which all other talents and the things that we use to express ourselves, that's what it's built on, the voice. My special guest today has made his life's work about studying the voice and sharing his gift and his talent with others. He teaches us how to fully realize the power of our voice, how to use it to be more successful and to communicate better. And yes, to sing. His name is Roger Love. Roger Love is recognized as one of the world's leading authorities on the voice. No other vocal coach in history has been more commercially successful in both the speaking and singing fields. Let me make my point. Roger has coached singers such as John Mayer and Selena Gomez, speakers like Anthony Robbins, sports stars like Tom Brady, and actors including Joaquin Phoenix, Reese Witherspoon, Brad Pitt, Keira Knightly, and Bradley Cooper. And these are just a few. Let me tell you real quickly how I first met Roger Love and discovered him. I was at a Grammy Museum event for Yoshiki, his classical tour. And as we all went up to the afterwards to the after party, I noticed the crowd standing around Roger, around this man. I didn't know him yet. And so I snuck in and I started to eavesdrop, but he made me feel comfortable and brought me in the circle. And I noticed, when I just saw him again here on Zoom, I had forgotten this. His eyes really engage and pay attention and listen, but his voice would raise and lower, causing everyone that was standing around him to be enraptured by this storytelling. You would lean in, you would, uh, you felt like you were there. He was an amazing storyteller. And then I found out what he did, and he handed me as a card. And it took me this long to work up the courage to invite him on the show. So Roger Love joins us today to share a few of the secrets. Welcome, Roger, to the show. It really, truly is an honor.
That was the most beautiful intro that I've ever been lucky enough to listen to. So kudos to you for using your voice to say things like that. You're amazing. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Roger. I will send that check. Send me the address. um, so when did you first discover your voice in terms of like realizing the power that it held? And can you take us back to that feeling when you discovered that for the first time?
I just was literally born singing. And I found out early on in my life that if ever I was sad or angry, I would just sing and it would instantly make me feel better. I had no idea there was science attached to that and reasons why that happened, but I just grew up loving to sing. And by the time I was 13 years old, I had convinced my parents to actually let me take singing lessons. And I found the most famous singing coach in the world because he had all the biggest stars, all the biggest singers. And I auditioned for him and he took me in and I studied with him for a number of years and really wanted to work on the craft of it. But I've just always been preoccupied with singing makes me happy. It's great when you can sing and make other people happy. And I wanted to know everything I could to learn about singing, become the best singer I could be. And then I started teaching other people how to do it and flash forward so many decades. But I literally love being able to work with people's voices, professionals and non-professionals, and help them find a voice that really goes with who they are and what they want to achieve in their lives.
So when you were that young kid singing and you discovered your voice, but it just made you happy, it made other people happy, did you start to realize, hey, I could teach this? And what were like where do you start when you teach? It's kind of a two-parter question. Where do you start when you meet a new artist or actor or anyone that needs to that comes to you? Where do you start? How do you find that voice for them?
Perfect. Two-part question, two-part answer. I wasn't thinking I was going to be a voice coach. I was just thinking I was going to sing 24 hours a day and maybe sleep for a few hours while I was singing in my sleep. But my voice teacher left when I was 16. He left to Canada to teach a master class. And he came to me and he said, I'd like you to take over my studio while I'm away for 6 months. And I said, really? Because I knew he had all the most famous singers in the world. And I said, well, that's a really nice honor. But just a little tiny problem that I could come up with right at that second. I have no idea how to teach. I'm just trying to be a student. And he said, don't let that worry you. I'm going to pay you $100 an hour. And I said, I'll be over after school on Monday with business cards. And my first lesson, again, I wasn't even thinking I knew how to teach. My first student was Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
No way.
And so you can imagine the fear mixed with some excitement, staring across the piano at Brian Wilson and me thinking, oh, I reached into my pocket, was thinking, figure out if I had 20 bucks, I would give him gas money to go back to where he came from because I didn't want him to waste his time. But instead I said, Brian, what problems are you having with your voice? And then he told me. And then, they say fake it till you make it. Over the next 6 months, every single one of those stars, the Stevie Wonders and the Earth, Wind and Fires and all the biggest stars, I was just sort of faking it. 6 months later, all of his students, they decided they wanted to stay with me when he came back from Canada. Because we all found that I had this ability to listen to people's voices and figure out a way to make them sound better. I didn't know I had it, But then at the point that I realized I could do it, I've spent the rest of my life making good on that, whatever that gift was that I was given.
So when you asked Brian what issues he was having with his voice, do you remember what his answer was?
Yeah, he said, I can sing in concert a couple of nights in a row, and on the third night, I can't sing anymore. And I thought, well, I've gotten really good at all these exercises that I've been doing for a few years. Why don't I just take him through the exercises? Go, 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 and I'll see if I hear any problems. Maybe he's straining someplace. I'll just pay attention to that. So I took him through the exercises, and I heard where he was straining. I saw that he was holding his breath. I saw that his Adam's apple was going up and closing off his throat. And I literally just started working on that. But yeah, it was uncharted waters.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so, you're very likable. That's what I was trying to express when I
If
saw
you
you
could
at the
just convince
Grammys.
my wife.
Yeah.
At 34 years, I think she thinks maybe there's something there.
Bring her on in. I'll tell her. I'll tell her how great you are. No, but so what you're saying almost is that it's eyes, it's listening, watching. You're watching how their vocals move and their mouth. It's ears, and it's the
And it's
voice.
knowing technique. My voice teacher actually taught me a great technique that he had learned from his teacher. And the technique that I learned was just better than what was out there any place else that I had seen. And it went from this standpoint of you could sing from very low in the range all the way up to as high as you can imagine in the range without any pressure, without any straining, if you followed these basic rules. So I did start with a good technique.
Okay.
So
Are there
that
any,
helped a
you want to
lot.
tease us with a couple of those tools, those techniques, or should
Yeah,
they
most
go to
people
your
think
website?
there's two voices in the human voice.
Okay,
There's
that's one of my
chest
questions.
voice,
Uh-huh.
which is the voice that they sort of speak in. And when they, for example, try to sing in chest voice, there's a problem when they get to the top of it. Ah, ah, ah.
Mhm.
Oh, it doesn't seem to want to go any higher. So I squeeze my buttocks cheeks together. I make my two eyebrows become one. I tighten my stomach and I try to get a little higher. Ah, ah, but it doesn't go any higher. So then when I've gone as high as I can go in my chest voice, what happens? Well, most people just break into head voice. Ah, and then they want to come down. Ah, and then there's a big break again. So singers were always having this issue of how do I get from my chest voice to my head voice without any breaks? Well, this technique said that there was another voice, like a bridge that lived in between chest and head. And if you could learn how to find that voice, instead of ah, you could go ah without any pressure, without any straining.
Mhm.
And I sort of knew how to do that, but I didn't realize I could teach that until that moment and those 6 months. So I started with a technique that was better than anything they'd already heard before.
How old were you at this point?
16.
16. Okay. So
I
and
had
then
facial hair.
looking,
I'm sure I had some facial hair.
that must have that probably helped a little, right? Because these big artists that you're coaching, are they saying like, "Where did you come from, kid?"
I'm sure every single one of them felt that way. Another thing I
But
did was
you,
my voice teacher had this very big booming voice, and when you listen to him, it was just so mesmerizing. It had lots of melody and lots of volume changes, and so I decided to pretend to sound like my voice teacher, hoping that they wouldn't notice the difference, even though he was 50 something and I was 16.
incredible. So I could just imagine, but you earned their confidence, I'm sure, right away with what you helped them, and they saw that. That's
Who
crazy.
knew?
Do you ever get, and did you ever get stage fright from public speaking, or do you get it now? I mean, you're a major public speaker.
No, but stage fright is great because stage fright
Tell
is
me
actually
why.
your autonomic nervous system giving you all this extra energy and blood flow to step on a stage or in front of a microphone and give your best performance. Stage fright is what helps you when you see somebody's foot trapped under a car and suddenly you get all this energy and you lift up the car a little bit and you get the person's foot out and you're like, wow, you might have torn your fingers off, but at that moment you were a superhero. So it's about learning to not fight against what the body gives you and say, this is bad, my pulse is racing, this is bad. It's all good. I remember back in the day, backstage with an artist like Barbra Streisand or backstage with an artist like Bruce Springsteen. Barbra Streisand would be like, oh, I'm nauseous. I feel like I'm going to throw up. Maybe I should cancel the show. And Bruce Springsteen would be, oh, I'm nauseous. And right before I throw up, boom, that's how I know I'm ready for the stage. So he was dying to almost throw up so he could feel that full rush of energy, and then he knew he was ready to be the boss.
That's incredible. Yeah, you're right. Actually, that is, one of my favorite public speakers is Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins, that you work with. And I think one of his last specials, I noticed behind the stage, well, he gets in a cold bath, right? And then he goes to the venue. Then he jumps on a trampoline. He's just channeling that stage fright or that energy or that adrenaline, right? And then he's out there.
But he
What
does
did
his
you?
vocal exercises too every day. He does my vocal exercises before he goes on stage too.
I was going to ask, can you say things that you coached him on, that you helped him
Yeah.
with?
Yeah.
Is
When
I
I met
admire
Tony
his.
like 30 years ago, I think I've been Tony's coach for 3 decades. And he has a very unusual voice to begin with. It's not a normal voice. He doesn't have a normal height. There's really nothing about him. When he was young, he had this internal system shift that suddenly shot him up like a rocket and everything got big, including his vocal cords. So there's reasons why he kind of sounds thick and strong. One of it is like his vocal cords are so thick, they barely fit inside of the voice box, right? So he likes to talk for and speak for literally all day. I was kidding before when I said I wanted to sing for 24 hours, but he actually loves to speak for 21 hours and only sleeps for a handful. So it's a lot of wear and tear in his voice, and he would be able to do that for one day or 2 days. On the second day, again, he would just be hoarse all the time. So my addition to his career was I was able to give him a voice that he could then use every single day for months and months and months and years and not get hoarse and not lose his voice. So I just made it so that he could open up his mouth and sound would come out.
Mm, wow. Well, you said about your own career that singing made you the speaker that you are today. We got to take a break here, but if you could tell us what that means, explain that a little bit. How did it make you better, the singing
When I
as a
first started
speaker?
teaching, I thought, oh, singing is this, and then speaking is this, and they're so different. But then over the years, I realized that there are only 5 variables, and they both have them. Pitch, how high or low are you? Pace, how fast or slow do you go? Tone, is it airy or is it edgy? Volume, is it loud or soft? And melody, what's the melody? So pitch, pace, tone, melody, and volume, I call them the building blocks of voice. They overlay perfectly in singing and speaking. So
Mm,
I had gotten so good at training singers how to do pitch, pace, tone, melody, and volume that then when I started working with speakers, I did the same thing. I thought of it as adding musicality to their speaking voices. So I
mm,
gave them the right melodies, just like I gave the singers. I gave them the control of tempo, just like I gave the singers. I gave them the control of volume, just like the singers. And I turned speakers' voices into musical voices because I knew that those sounds would move people emotionally. So it's really not that different. Learning to sing is amazing practice for learning to speak.
that makes so much sense. Those I got to go back and listen to this and write those down. Those are great. Well, hey, we got to take a break here, and I'm already 3 minutes over. I'm not doing my timing very well, but and this is probably not going to help that timing right now because we're not going to be able to go to break after I bring up this topic. It's your I know it's your favorite topic. I wanted to mention that all of the music today on the show is by Madison Love. She's a singer and a songwriter, and she, am I right? She's your favorite topic, Roger.
She is. She and my other son
Your
Colin
daughter.
are two of my favorite topics. But I absolutely love talking about Madison, who's become an amazing not only singer but songwriter. She's written songs that she's already had over 14 billion streams
Oh my
of
God.
her songs, and she's had three number one hits, and she's still in her 20s.
Yeah, it's incredible. You're going to hear all of her songs, either that she sings or that she was a songwriter for. But there's some of your favorite songs. You're going to recognize them right away. Madison Love, award-winning tunesmith behind Machine Gun Kelly and Camila Cabello, Bad Things. That's a great one, which went to #1 on pop airplay charts, to #4 on the Billboard 100, and Ava Max's Sweet but Psycho, which reached #10 on the Hot 100. That describes most of my girlfriends. You're a proud papa, aren't you, Roger?
Yes, I love talking about her, and I couldn't be prouder. I sort of feel like whatever I've done in music and voice, I was just a conduit so that I could sort of pave the way. And she got the best of me and better than me. And so the fact that, when you have kids, you just want them to be better than you. And I love that I have achieved that, my wife and I.
Yeah, congratulations. And such an amazing songwriter and voice. Now, is songwriting part of your thing, or is that something that she just really grew into and developed?
Songwriting was
Uh,
a part of my thing. I was always songwriting,
yeah,
but I was always only songwriting for me as an artist. But I was all into songwriting for sure up for the first 21 years of my life. And so that was my background. But I got to a point where I really had to figure out, what am I really the best at?
hmm
What's my calling in life? And I could keep writing songs and maybe think that that was my path and singing songs, but I really felt that I was better at being a voice coach, and I
you found,
loved it. And I don't regret that choice ever. But I'm so happy that Madison could pick up the torch so many years later.
yeah, it's amazing. Thank you for sending this soundtrack to us, because it really is an amazing soundtrack for the show. And don't go anywhere. Ava Lynn Thuresson. You probably remember Ava Lynn from NBC's The Voice season 22. She's on Team Camila Cabello. And where did you go to, Ava? Hi. Where did you get stolen? But what did you go to John Legend? I can't remember. Or
I didn't. John Legend and Camila were the ones that turned around for me.
okay.
And yeah, I got to work with Camila, and then Charlie Puth came on. He was like an additional mentor of mine. He's an incredible musical genius. He's genuinely some of the best advice I've ever gotten vocally. So yeah, no, I worked with them, and it was an incredible experience. I think actually season 24 is airing right now. I believe. And so yeah, I'm excited to see the newcomers. I have a couple of them following me on Instagram, so it's just a big community of love
Yeah, it's
there.
great. Well, you got a comedian, Roger Love, gives his love
This is
to the voice
this is a
as
little
well.
community of love.
He's got, yeah, it's a big community.
Yeah.
Well, let me take us to break real quick, and so we can come back and keep talking. Ava Lynn's going to join us in the second segment here with Roger Love, my special guest today. They're going to talk songwriter and singer, songwriter to songwriter, singer to singer. I can't wait to listen in. And we're going to take you to Madison Love and Pink, Turbulence. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. But before you go, mark this on your calendar. Sing for the Soul, the most unusual, limit pushing, and exciting event you'll ever attend. It takes place in Nashville, Tennessee on May 24th and 25th. I'll wait a moment. Go to your calendars, open your phones, mark it down. Sing for the Soul is the quickest path to transform yourself into an even more exceptional speaker, a storyteller, and a world changer. Step outside of your comfort zone, push your limits, and join Roger and 49 others to tap into the only singing event designed to make you an even better speaker. Sing for the Soul is all about you. getting out of your comfort zone, pushing your limits, and creating massive results for you. Isn't it time you do that for yourself? You know you want to sing. Join us for Sing for the Soul and let your voice be a source of happiness and self-expression. You can go to rogerlove.com. And listeners, Roger, thank you, Roger, for offering this. Voiceplace.com/Jeremiah. You can claim a $50 coupon that Roger Love has extended to you for the listeners of the Jeremiah Show. We've got a big music business and music artist listening audience. So this is the time. You've been thinking about it, been waiting to do it. Go to rogerlove.com, sign up, and go to voiceplace.com/Jeremiah to claim a $50 off coupon for that. We'll be right back again. Here's Madison Love, Pink, Turbulence.